Teacher?
I see your talents have gone beyond the mere physical level. Your skills are now at the point of spiritual insight. I have several questions. What is the highest technique you hope to achieve?
To have no technique.
Very good. What are your thoughts when facing an opponent?
There is no opponent.
And why is that?
Because the word I does not exist.
So, continue.
A good fight should be like a small play, but played seriously. A good martial artist does not become tense, but ready. Not thinking, yet not dreaming. Ready for whatever may come. When the opponent expands, I contract. When he contracts, I expand. And when there is an opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself.
And what we just seen was a classic scene from a classic Kung Fu movie dating all the way back to 1973, starring my man, Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. And what I like to do for you today, DBA, is break down exactly why this scene describes and gives the perfect example of what we should expect to see from Goku's new power of mastery of self movement. And the first time that we were introduced to this concept was in a revival of F arc. Right before Frieza came, Whis was training Goku and Vegeta, and he mentioned that Goku was too lax when he fight, and that Vegeta was too tense, and that both of them should try to find that middle ground and master their movements. They get to a point where they aren't even thinking of their moves, and their body just reacts to whatever their opponent throws at them. And if you paid close attention to the scene before, you would have heard Bruce Lee character state, a good martial artist does not become tense, but ready, not thinking, yet not dreaming. Like I said, folks, this dates all the way back to 1973. Bruce Lee literally just described both Vegeta and Goku and their weaknesses, and what a good martial artist would be. They would be in that middle ground, and now this is what Whis was trying to teach Goku and Vegeta. He then finishes on this quote by saying, being ready for whatever may come. And before I dive in deeper into the scene and the breakdown, I'd like to give a quick, brief history lesson on Mr. Lee. And many of you out there may not know this, but Bruce Lee was a cha-cha dancing champion. The man could dance, folks. He was a damn good dancer. And you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with fighting? But it has everything to do with fighting. And this is why. So for starters, why it's important to point this out is because cha-cha dancing mirrors the perfect flow state of martial arts and what he spoke of in that scene, of being able to move absent of thought and purely react off of your opponent, being ready for whatever may come. In that instance, he was talking about a fighting opponent, but this can also easily translate to dancing and you being able to simultaneously link up with your dance partner and be able to move with them, not necessarily thinking of your moves and thinking of your steps, because if you're thinking about it, you're already 2 steps behind. If your partner moves left and you're supposed to move right, you want your body to just purely react off of their body moving one direction, and you automatically want to move the other direction without thinking about it. This is what Bruce Lee spoke of, and how a true martial artist, how a good martial artist would fight. He wouldn't think about his next punch or his next kick. His body would automatically just know, and it would throw it on its own. And again, I quote from the movie, Bruce Lee character states, when the opponent expands, I contract. When it contracts, I expand. And when there is opportunity, I do not hit. It hits all by itself. Again, this was back in 1973, and Bruce Lee just mentioned what Whis is talking about with Goku and Vegeta. And this is exactly what Goku's new power is going to be, mastery of self-movement. He will now be able to when Jiren contracts, he will now be able to expand, and he will now be able to mirror and counter whatever he's throwing at him. So now, let's just give an example. If Jiren was to throw a cross, if Goku wants to counter it with an uppercut, he no longer has to think about throwing an uppercut. His body will just see that open window by itself and now throw that punch automatically for him. And the best part about this is that Dragon Ball, and especially Dragon Ball Super, gets so much hate for just a random power boost. This mastery of self-movement thing, this is going to be a legit just fighting enhancement for Goku, but it won't necessarily have to increase his power. I'm not saying that he won't increase his power, I'm just saying that it won't necessarily have to, and that's just based off his body being able to just react instead of thinking now, or in his case, he was just too relaxed. So now he'll be able to move even quicker. I'm sure everything will be enhanced, especially from the way that they're going to animate it. But anyway, the cool part about this is that basically I can say his new fighting technique will be there is no technique. And this ties back into another quote from the movie. When he's asked, what is the highest technique you hope to achieve? He then answers, to have no technique. And that just goes right back to, like I was mentioning earlier, to when his opponent contracts, he expands, and then he doesn't throw the punch, but the punch throws itself. When you are fighting like this, there isn't necessarily like a technique or game plan when you're doing this, and the perfect example for this is Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather has mentioned on many occasions that he doesn't study film for his opponents because he doesn't want to be thinking about their movements. He purely just wants to react off of what they're doing in the ring.
Throughout my whole career, I've never watched a tape with a new opponent that I faced. Never.
Everything that you see, all of his defensive encounters are just pure reactions because he understands that your reaction times is going to be 100% faster than your thinking time. And this technique of having no technique, you can't knock it because Floyd Mayweather is arguably the greatest defensive, greatest counter puncher ever as far as boxing. And boxing being that, the sweet science fight. So yeah, it's really awesome to see, and I'm very excited to see these principles and applications of what was once known as like myth for being a perfect martial artist. And like I said, Floyd Mayweather has conquered that within his own martial arts journey of mastering that self-movement, being able to dance with your opponent. And yeah, I'm happy to see Goku use it. I'm happy to see this form in action. And we'll talk about it on Sunday and see how everybody feels. I'll catch you guys next week.